Boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, welcome to Jedi Jive. We're letting people come in. We're letting our guests arrive. We're getting situated. We're happy you guys are here. We can't wait to talk about Wandavision. We're all super excited to talk about the finale. A lot to talk about this week. Hopefully you guys have some good questions to ask us. Hey guys, look at this. Hustle Mandalorian is in the house. What's up, Hustle? Hustle Mando. You are 3 for 3 or 4 for 4. Way to go. Yes. We love seeing the returning cast and crew. And in addition to the boys from All New Nerds, we have a potential special guest today. We also have Jenny, your guys' favorite. So without further ado, we are going to bring everybody.
Girl.
All right, guys. Welcome to Jedi Jive Live number 4. If people in the chat have the ability to let us know if you can hear everybody, please do. Please let us know that the audio is working.
Hello.
Can you guys hear Dylan and John?
I personally can hear us all just listening to the stream on my own.
Okay,
so
perfect.
I think we're
all
in good shape.
That's all we need.
Yeah, so it hasn't been confirmed, but I talked to Michael from Omni Media. You guys may know Omni Media on YouTube. He's got a stream at 4, but he said he might pop in here sometime before then. So we don't know when, but we're expecting him possibly to pop in to this chat. So we're looking forward to that. We want to talk to him and get his take on the WandaVision finale. Everybody's going to have a little bit of a mixed opinion probably. I know everybody here was a big fan of the entire season, and nobody here is going to say that they're let down. But I do know, looking across the internet today, there is a group of people that are set themselves up for disappointment, shall we say, and are not exactly thrilled with the way the finale went. I, for one, am super happy. I'm super pumped. I know Jenny and I actually, in our reaction video, in our intro section, we even talked about, look, we're not trying to set ourselves up for disappointment. We just want to take this the way it's given to us. And I gave him an A+. I really think this is not only, it was great, it was up there with like some of the best Marvel MCU stuff we've had. Obviously, they had the opportunity to stretch out their character development over 9 episodes. And when, you're watching a movie and all that gets condensed into like a 1 or 2 hour, a couple hours, and you have to, like people say, Captain America becomes Captain America within like half an hour in one movie, and you don't get the time to really explore all the deep things. And WandaVision is like our first journey into that, where we really, really, really got to flesh out a couple of the characters and see some more acting from Paul Bettany and from Elizabeth Olsen. And obviously WandaVision has served as a origin story for multiple characters. We got Scarlet Witch, we got White Vision, we got Monica Rambeau, we got Billy and Tommy Maximoff, or I guess it's just Wiccan and Speed is how we're going to know them eventually. But basically the makings of the new Avengers are already here, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the story pans out. So a lot of the people that are disappointed this morning because they didn't feel like they got what they were expecting, just wait, because I have a feeling a lot of that stuff is still coming.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we're going to miss out on. So I'm eager to hear what you guys thought overall. Before we start talking any of the nitty-gritty details, what did you guys think of the episode overall? John, what did you think?
I did like it. It was a good finale. I was, I did get hyped up by theories, but I definitely didn't like diminish my love for the finale. There was like 2 things that I was like very sure were going to happen, that didn't. So not that it disappointed me, but I don't know. But overall, yeah, the finale was great. I mean, like the emotional weight at the end with the hex closing, that hit different. That was impactful, and I loved everything with Vision they did. I was super happy about that. That made me smile. And looking forward to Doctor Strange, and we're gonna see more of the story fleshed out. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
so
John, I saw in your All New Nerds reaction that was at the end credit scene. That was your reaction. Is like, oh, it's gonna be Strange. It's gonna be Doctor Strange. And then I watched Jenny and I
was
kind of
sure
said the
of
same
it.
thing. We're like, oh, is it gonna be Cumberbatch? It just seemed obvious. So we didn't
He
get
come to his
Cumberbatch,
like front
but
doorstep. Yeah.
we did get
That's
his
the
name.
perfect example, though, of why we all need not to freak out about that, because
Mhm.
it wasn't Cumberbatch in that episode, but it is going to be Cumberbatch. Elizabeth
Yeah.
Olsen is in the
And
Doctor Strange
Agatha
movie, which
Harkness
really stars Cumberbatch.
definitely
So it's going to be
mentioned
him.
Sorcerer Supreme. She said
Right.
that, yeah.
Right.
So that was important. We'll get to that because that's more towards the end of the episode. So I want to hear, Jenny, what did you think?
Yeah,
Obviously,
I mean,
I know what you
that's
thought.
that's
But
literally the perfect example. Like, so much of the stuff that we had discussed that didn't pan out or that folks are disappointed about is still coming. Like, some of them we might or might not ever meet Mephisto. Who knows? It's all things are possible. So that didn't immediately pan out, but like, we know for sure Cumberbatch is coming. Doctor Strange is coming. So there are certain things that just haven't happened yet. And this show for me was great because although it did, the last few episodes did lead us back into the cinematic universe, the fact that this was a television show instead of just one feature-length film allowed them to do this sort of joyful, self-referential exploration of form. So it was a tribute to television as well as working within a television format. And that was fun for just, I mean, honestly, for purely aesthetic reasons. It was just fun watching everybody play dress up for a few weeks. That was cool. It was quirky. It was entertaining for its own sake, while also managing to be very meta in a lot of ways. And I was thrilled with it. I think that this was not Game of Thrones, guys. This was not Lost. Like, this wasn't a finale that betrayed the core premise of the entire show. We've all seen examples of that, like in television. This wasn't that. This actually stayed faithful to and expanded upon the core premises of the show, but also just introduced all of these wonderful sort of form-based details that were, it demonstrated their love for TV. So I thought it was great. I loved it.
yeah, I see Hustle has posed a question, which I plan on talking about down the road as soon as we hear from Dylan and hear his thoughts on the episode overall.
Yeah.
Before we get
So yeah,
specific.
I mean, I kind of agree with everyone around the board here. I definitely let myself get carried away with the theories and I don't think, like, I guess it isn't really Marvel, but they didn't really do themselves any favors, like answering questions like, is there a Luke Skywalker level, what's it called, appearance? Which, I mean, I know the question was a little, whatever. Paul Bettany saying, like, there's an actor that I want to work with, which Jenny was right there, was himself. But other than that, I do think it is really cool that they were able to kind of not worry too much about with like the MCU timeline and worry about other things. They just kind of got to experiment a bit and tell their own little story within this season. I thought the finale episode was great. I did really like it. I'm excited to see where it goes with Multiverse of Madness and stuff like that. I'm excited to see more Agatha. I know we're going to get her more because I feel like she was a big villain in it, but I want to see more of her, like she's got an interesting story to tell.
Dylan,
And,
Jenny won't know this because she hasn't watched The Mandalorian, but I kind of thought of it as similar to Bill Burr's character Mayfeld on The Mandalorian, in that he was a bad guy, but then later on they bring him back because they need his help, and he's able to kind of offer his assistance, and then becomes a good guy more or less. So I kind of see Agatha as playing that. She's been made out to be a bad guy. Actually, first she was made out to be a good guy in a way in this show, and then became a bad guy. But I have a feeling they'll try to redeem her down the road because she's too likable. I feel like to.
Well, and one of the things this show did beautifully with multiple characters was to complicate the idea of what a good guy and a bad guy is.
Definitely.
So many of these characters, like Hayward works for SWORD, which, it's like the space version of S.H.I.E.L.D. As far as we know, like, those are good guys. Those are people on the side of powered folks. But like, he's a bad guy, and like,
he tried to empty an entire
Wanda
clip into
gold.
children.
We saw like good vision and bad vision. Like, this idea that complicates what like good guys and bad guys are is part of the sort of function of this show. We've seen it with Loki a lot as well. He's a really complex three-dimensional character. And so Agatha, I see in that same vein, like it's not about like black and white good and evil. It's that we all carry aspects of both, and that situation can drive us in either direction to an extreme, but that reality is messy. It's not just black and white, good and evil.
Yeah,
it's so much
Agatha
interesting.
in the comics, she so she does act as a kind of mentor to Scarlet Witch, and I think we are going to see that. I think it's going to be, you kind of mentioned like Bill Burr's character from The Mandalorian. I kind of, that's I imagine you know, Wanda coming back to Westview and visiting Agatha and turning her back into her witch form so she can communicate with her, because she's going to kind of, you know, if Wanda's stuck on something or stuck on a spell or something like that, I think it's going to be along those lines. Of,
I had said to
wisdom.
Jenny in our stream that I can see like Wanda and Doctor Strange needing, or like she needs to learn something about the Darkhold and can't make it work or something.
Right.
And she's like, I know somebody that knows how to make this work. And
Yeah,
you know,
I
it'll
can
be a
definitely see that
reluctant
coming.
releasing of Agatha. She won't necessarily want to, but she'll have to.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people pointing out how moving forward, Wanda herself may actually be the villain of this entire phase, for all we know.
Yeah. Well, that's where I thought
because-
that's where I thought the
thought.
show was gonna end off, and that's
Yeah.
what I was kind of excited for. But like back to Jenny's point about like gray areas, black, and not being so black and what better character to make a whole show about that than Wanda? You know, like we've seen her in the past MCU. She's always been the good. Well, I guess she hasn't always been the good guy. Working with Ultron, she started out as kind of like
she's gone the line.
against
She's
the
walked the line
Avengers.
for sure.
Right, exactly. And then we see more of that in Civil War, where, you know, she's a good person. She's just causing destruction everywhere. And so she is definitely a confused character. And I think it just like, she's the perfect character. Her and maybe like Loki, like you said.
Yeah.
are
She's a
perfect for
case
something like
study
that.
for me.
I
I
wanna
mean,
see that
this
team up.
Yeah, I know, right?
I want to see that team up.
But she's a great case study in how sort of trauma begets trauma. This person has been through so much, like more than a human should ever have to bear. And
props to Elizabeth Olsen, by the way, for conveying that.
amazing.
Very
She's
excellent
perfect
acting.
for this
Yeah, she's
role.
great.
But like she, you know, this isn't the first time that she's had a complicated relationship with her own power. You know, there was Lagos, when they were in Lagos, and she destroyed the building, and like a lot of civilians were caught up in it, and that was why the Sokovia Accords got signed, and she carries a lot of guilt about that, which in turn makes her more volatile, you know, having so much guilt and so much stress. This is about like trauma producing more trauma, and doesn't mean that she's like a bad, evil person. Most people aren't fundamentally evil, but there's like only so much a person can take. And yeah, there's been a lot of conversation online about how she's not facing enough consequences for what she did in Westview. From like a purely carceral point of view, like maybe that's true. They haven't put her in like a plastic jail cell.
But it's like
You know,
Superman.
in a
It's like Clark
vacuum.
Kent. Like
They
you
haven't
can't
shot her
put
into
him in
space to
prison.
punish her.
Yeah.
But
You
I
can't
mean,
keep
I
her in
feel
prison. She just opened the door.
Right,
Like she's
exactly.
demonstrated
I
she
just
can
kinda-
open.
I don't know, I
locked
you know
kinda
what I
doors.
agree
mean?
with
But
the
like, I
thing
feel like that's
with
also a
her.
reductivist view in a way, because she really is paying a moral price. She's continuing to take on this guilt and trauma. At the end of in the second post-credit scene, the very, very last scene where we saw her astral projecting, right? Like Wanda Maximoff is on her porch enjoying a cup of tea. And the Scarlet Witch is in this dark room reading this dark book and learning and growing and evolving.
Yeah.
And I think I was thinking about like Harry Potter and Horcruxes. You know, every time you create a Horcrux, you literally break off a little chunk of your soul and put it into this object. And I think Wanda is like this close to becoming Voldemort, you know, to having, we've talked a lot about Vision being more than the sum of his parts, how, you know, he's Infinity Stone, he's metal and wire, he's organic material, he's AI, he's all of these things, but that he also has a personality. He is sentient, and he's more than the sum of those parts. I am asking myself, how many times can you split a human consciousness before it becomes less than the sum of its parts? Like, how many times can she split herself down the middle like this before there's an irreparable toll, before she can't really go back and be whole again, psychologically or magically? So I think that there's like, she has a lot of potential. It's that two-faced god, Janus, you know, there's there's a god that has two faces. They're two sides of the same coin, literally, and she's the perfect embodiment of that. And how can all of these things be her but have such different motivations and lead to such different results?
I don't know if you guys thought so or not, but it seemed like during the scenes when Wanda was like actually becoming like the full-on Scarlet Witch, like when she was hovering in the sky, she did almost have like an intoxicated look on her face. I felt like it seemed like it changed her a little bit. And also in that post-credit scene when you see her practicing that magic, like you said, there's the two sides. There's her drinking her tea in her little pink outfit or whatever, and then there's the evil Wanda in the back doing all the incantations or whatever. So she looked like it was definitely two sides of yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well,
all right.
Seems cool.
When she was in Scarlet Witch mode, I guess, and she had defeated Agatha, and I mean, like, I don't know, maybe I just looked at it wrong or something, but she seemed kind of menacing when she was like telling Agatha how she's going to keep her in this place forever and stuff like that. And I mean, it might be justified because Agatha's not a great person, but it kind of seemed like she was being overcome with power there for a bit or something like that.
Yeah. I
Or
agree.
perverted by the power that she has.
Yeah.
Then again, like if somebody strangled my kid, I wouldn't show my nice side.
No, right.
So
That's why I'm
kinda-
kind of going back on that. But
That's
like,
true.
it just seemed like a little like out of character in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
all right. So let's get to the. Here's the thing that most people are probably wanting to discuss today, and it's
Is it who I think?
It's what you think. It is what you think
Yeah.
it is. It's the Evan Peters situation.
Right.
Let's just put it on the table now because Dylan had mentioned like, oh, you can get caught up in the leaks and the theories and you watch the videos and it's our excitement. It's a week-to-week show. We're trying to stay involved. We want to postulate and speculate and do all the, we want to have fun with it. And I completely understand when someone says you're going to get let down if you set yourself up, you have all these expectations. That makes perfect sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is when they serve up something to us and they're like, here's this thing. Like, it's not us taking it and running with it. I feel like this is an example of them kind of like, it's almost sloppy in a way because I refuse to believe that there's not more to this story. I refuse to believe that Feige got Evan Peters involved simply to troll us and then kind of sloppily not really it just seems messy to me, and I don't think Kevin Feige is a messy. I don't think he's be prone to making something happen that would piss people off purely to frustrate us and to be like, you guys are frustrated that I, tricked you. No, I don't think they want to do that. And I definitely think that there's going to be more to this down the road that we're going to look back on this and be like, they weren't trolling us.
You do?
I don't know.
No, I think there's way more to the Evan
I had a feeling you
Peters.
guys might be on two different sides of this argument.
Yeah.
I'd be good to
I'm
hear
sorry
it.
to hear
I want
this,
to hear what
Johnny.
you guys think about this.
Well,
Yeah.
You go first.
I
man.
don't think they're just. I mean, I think what was it, Ralph Boner? I think that's a little bit of a
all that for a boner joke.
throw off or something
It's
like
like-
that. And but I still do think that is the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe, and that we're going to get more of him, and and we're going to get more multiverse stuff.
All right, John, tell me why you don't think that.
I don't think that because first off, I mean, even though this wasn't explicitly said, I mean, we still didn't know who that that missing person was in the beginning. That's been
Yes, that's
He's-
what the internet says today.
I
that,
think
okay,
it's
he must
him.
be Woo's guy. This is Woo's
This
It
is a
must be
theory I've
him.
heard a lot.
because
And-
Woo is going to be involved with superhero people. So
Right.
wouldn't it stand to reason that his witness that he's protecting or whatever is involved in superhero stuff to some degree? So then wouldn't Fox Pietro making his way into this universe somehow, we don't know yet how, be a reason for Woo to protect that person or to have to me that seems like I mean, we don't want to reach too far, but I refuse to believe that they did that to us out of pure just
Yeah, I agree.
I like the
It'd be like a
optimism,
real
but I
Ryan
just don't know.
Johnson type thing, like The Last Jedi,
There-
like turn
subverting
off, I don't know.
expectations.
There has
Yeah.
been
It's
a
not even
trend.
like
I
subverting. It's
actually
just
read a whole article about this. There has been a trend in television recently of showrunners deliberately abusing their audience, like doing the opposite of fan service. There have been a few notable examples that have set the internet on fire over the past year or so. The ones I'm immediately thinking of are the revivals of Twin Peaks and Veronica Mars, where like unconscionable things happened to characters that we've loved for like decades at this
I
point.
don't know anything about either of those things.
Doesn't
but-
matter. The point being, like,
This is a Star Wars channel.
there has been a sort of like trend of like showrunners deliberately punching down their viewers.
Right.
But I kind of agree with Mike. I don't think Feige needs to troll us. Like, we're all here. He's not a messy creator. Everything is so
Mandarin,
meticulous.
Iron Man
and
3.
Yeah, man. I was
There's
about to
so
say how the
much.
Trevor Slattery thing kind of reminded me. This reminded me of Trevor Slattery a little bit.
Yeah.
How you thinking it's this Mandarin, and then all of a sudden it's an actor. It's also
It's an
like
actor.
it's an actor, and you even get the Ralph
Although
Boner
it seems we are
headshot.
getting oh my god, I just said Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Mandarin
Mandarin.
in
Yeah.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
to an
Shang-Chi.
extent.
There's
I've
like a
seen-
real Mandarin out there.
I've seen people point out that it just seemed too perfect that he'd have like this headshot with his name on it right next to his bill with his name on it, and it just kind of
Exactly.
it just seemed
Yeah, it
too
was a little
like.
convenient.
Like,
And somebody also
but
said that
why
if
that
Evan
name?
Peters' Quicksilver was put in witness protection, that he probably would choose a name like Boner, because that would be the kind of thing he would
Right.
do.
That's on brand. I mean, there are a couple things for me about that. Like, the two main theories I've seen on the internet are stunt casting, he's trolling us, or that's Woo's witness protection guy. And that Ralph Boner is a fake name. And, you know, because like you just said, Woo, we know works with powered people, it might make sense. Like, if he came from another dimension and they need to hide him so as not to
Yeah.
let the cat
Just
out
the
of the
name
bag.
Boner would be an extra unnecessary kick if they were
Right.
trolling, because it's like,
But
not only am I
that's-
trolling, but we're also making a dick joke. Ha ha. Like,
Right.
That's such an X-Men Quicksilver thing to do, though. I
That
feel
would
like
be
that's
on brand.
that's a
That would be like
perfect
his
joke for
personality.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he's like a
Yeah.
that character like is a troll. Like he's like always
And
messing with
I mean,
people,
like
so-
in the X-Men movies, he's always in his basement playing arcade games. Like, and now he's in the
He's like-
man
yeah.
cave.
I know the
It's-
apartment looks similar. I know.
I mean, the fact that he has not only the
Didn't even
face
think about
but
that.
the
Yeah, that's a great
personality
point.
of the existing character. And here, I think about two things that are really sticking out to me. One is that guy really had super speed.
super speed. Yeah, 100%.
I don't
Because if
know that
Agatha could grant
Agatha's
superpowers to
necklace-
people, she would just give them all to herself.
Right. I don't think
Yeah.
that he had that like necklace that I think was
True.
Agatha's charm that Monica.
Yeah.
Monica.
Yeah,
ripped
but we
up,
didn't see
like,
him run after he.
I don't
that-
think
Yeah.
Agatha could have given him super speed. And
Wait,
she
yeah,
just
we
said
did.
he's
Remember
like-
when he flicked her? Was that not his super?
That was right.
speed?
Oh, to
That was before.
I'm not.
was-
Yeah.
Oh,
me,
when
that's a
he had the-
demonstration of super
Yeah, that's
strength,
when he
though,
had
isn't
it
it?
on. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. And then
well,
the other thing, the
yeah, I
other
guess
thing
so.
about this is that like where was he? If he's just this like random stunt casting person, then like why wasn't he in Westview before he showed up as Quicksilver? Why wasn't he on the board? Like, why doesn't he have an identity? You know, that messed with me. And then the last
I
thing that I
know.
keep thinking of is this one scene that they had during like the Halloween episode, where Wanda was kind of testing him and being like, "You're not my brother. Like, who are
Well,
you?"
that was Agatha.
No, during the Halloween episode when Wanda was like
Yeah, they're out in the
asking him
street
questions to try to
trick-or-treating.
catch
Yeah,
him.
Mhm.
And he said like, I don't know, I was just over there and then I could hear you calling me and it sounded like you needed help. And Mike, you and I had the same like knee-jerk reaction at the time, was like, that sounded sincere. Evan Peters played that like very sincere.
Mm.
It was the one, like, he's this character with all the jokes, but he played that straight.
Like he
Like
broke through.
it really sounded like, yeah, I don't know, I heard something
Yeah.
happening and I knew you
Well,
needed me and I have no idea what
To
happened.
me, though, that brings it full circle back to the why Evan Peters specifically situation.
Why would they do the
Because-
surprise
'cause
twice
we're-
though?
What we're talking about doesn't involve whether it's Evan Peters or not. It's about whether it's Quicksilver or not. And we're saying, okay, this is Pietro. They specifically have the character of Pietro come in when Ralph Boner could have been anybody that isn't Pietro, but they're specifically making it Pietro and then specifically casting Evan Peters.
who already played this
To
character.
me, that's more than a troll. You know, on the surface, that's face value. You take it for what it is. There's no way that there's not more significance to that.
I mean, the
Can be.
fact that
Yeah,
we're still
100%,
talking
yeah.
about this right now means that it achieved its end, whether it's trolling or not. Like, it got
Yeah.
us
I
going.
know that's
Yeah.
all it
You
was
know?
though. If you really think about it, when it comes down to it, was just like this whole thing was a troll, and that was a pretty big plot point in the entirety of the show. So I'm upset about it because he was one of the best parts of those movies, and I was super psyched to have him now in the MCU because I think he's better than Aaron Taylor Johnson. And I just like if they they faked this out like twice. If he
Right.
comes back and anything is like, oh no, I actually am Pietro. Surprise! Like it's like I don't know.
But
I
with the
guess
announcement of
that's-
mutants, with the announcement of the mutants thing coming out, like there's
That was
like,
yeah.
he's gonna be a part of it. Like I don't know.
I don't know.
All New Nerds is over. It's done. We're broken up.
It's okay. Be
Dumb,
nice,
hate
you
you.
guys. It's all right. But I mean, honestly, I'm with you, Mike and Dylan. Sorry, John. Like I think it's too complex, and the whole situation has too many variables. It's too messy to have been like, oh, haha, we dropped 900 different details and now it's all just fake. I feel like
Yeah.
that would be a messy move
Well,
for it to be
would Disney
just
really,
stuff
like,
casting.
I don't think that's a good marketing move either to just like pull that
Yeah.
troll.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this side of the money, you know, from like
Yeah.
Disney.
If you
like,
look back on my reaction channel, your guys' reactions, I'm pretty sure episode 5 of WandaVision was like got the most views of any episode, purely for
actually,
that
that makes
one Quicksilver reaction. So I mean, like that was like the most popular moment of the show for a lot of people, I would assume, just from that data alone. So
I
you're
just-
taking something that's
yeah.
like the peak moment of the episode for people in terms of reacting like, oh my god, to it, and then having that not pan out in the end is definitely.
But it did.
feels
in
like
the
a
end
slap
of
in the
show.
face.
It is a
bit.
slap in the face, and like, I just don't. Yeah, I just don't see him like because what would they do? What would they do to explain? Oh, that Ralph guy's back, and then they what? Do a flashback from a flashback to WandaVision in a different movie or something like that? Like I don't know. But they
Or it
didn't
could just
even.
be some little exposition. I mean, we've had little
Yeah.
exposition
Yeah.
throughout this show because they're assuming that not everybody is up to date on like Infinity War and Endgame. They've had little scenes like Vision in the truck being like, so my AI was Jarvis or whatever, just so that like we make sure everybody's on the same page. You can accomplish a lot with like 3 lines of really simple exposition.
Yeah,
I- you
I
know,
would have
the
liked an
other
end credit
thing-
scene with
the other
him in
thing
like an
about that is
interrogation
that if
room or
we
something.
assume
I
he's-
agree with that. I agree with that.
With being like,
if we assume that he is,
I don't know.
just for the sake of argument, that like he is Fox, Quicksilver, Peter Maximoff, it also keeps open a really interesting question that we know is eventually going to be relevant of like how he got here. If that is like some form of Quicksilver and he came through from another dimension through the Nexus, we know it's going to be a thing. We saw the
Mhm.
commercial. We know that like Wanda is a rare Nexus being. That
Mhm.
leaves open the question of like who brought him here.
Yeah,
who-
then it gets confusing
Yeah.
because we did
But
theorize
that's
that
such a
Billy
big
could have
thing from
brought
the
him
show.
because he appeared right after she was talking to Billy about her brother Pietro, because Billy had asked her, "Mom, do you have a brother?" Or
Yeah.
and then
Mm.
and then right after that is when he appeared. So it makes
That's
sense that Billy
interesting.
could have done it. But then again, I feel like this all gets further complicated by the fact that Agatha said, I couldn't get your real brother because of his. So that would mean, she said his buddy was in another country with holes in it, and
Yeah,
she
it's
couldn't. She
Sokovia.
couldn't. Anyway,
and all
that would
that.
imply then that Agatha, like if Evan Peters was the Fox Quicksilver, that Agatha would then know that he was her actual brother from another universe, right?
But
She wouldn't be able to just like coincidentally have it be the Fox Quicksilver.
I know
that
that's what
she-
bothers me is that it's him and just I
So
mean
how would
Yeah,
she
it
be
is-
living
it
in the
is
same
weird.
house as this Ralph guy by accident? It wouldn't. So I mean, like that actually makes it more so that John seems right. That like
maybe.
they really are just trolling us. I don't want to think about this too much.
I can't
because
tell.
I
I am playing devil's advocate a little bit, but I obviously this was like such a big thing that this was probably one of my favorite things from the show, and just I'm a little upset about how it ended is all. And there's no sign of a future for that though. That's the thing. There's absolutely no sign of a future.
Yeah.
So
I mean, because it's not. I mean, this isn't the only thing that wasn't like answered necessarily. I mean, like
Right.
Senor Scratchy, we were like, oh, is that Ralph? Is that Mephisto?
I don't
you know,
think that
we
necessarily
actually.
needs to be
Do you know how many
explained too
people
much.
thought the beekeeper from like the first episode or whatever that
Yeah.
was that was
Big villain.
Mephisto? So-
we were
The
among
mailman,
those
the
people,
mailman.
Mike. Like we theorized.
The mailman
about
thing,
that.
I even said that when
Uh,
I saw him again in the finale. I was like, dude, he's still he's
He was
he's
sus,
playing
but-
into it too much.
I'm pretty sure the beekeeper was just like a sword agent that they
Yeah, it
were
was a
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
yeah.
But I guess they never.
That's what I
Wanda
assumed.
ended up like rewinding or whatever,
Oh.
so that he would have like
Yeah.
gone back time wise, I guess, and not
I
been
have a-
next anymore.
I have a question for you, Shield people. So
Mm.
the
Yeah.
Darkhold Does it
Okay.
look different than
Shield
Yeah,
isn't
it
that's
canon.
in
does.
Shield?
I,
So
I'm.
so it's something else.
Somebody had said in the comments, Shield isn't canon, and I wrote them an essay
Yeah, I
about
saw
how
it.
why it is.
Okay.
I think this is a different version or different copy, or I don't
Okay.
know if they're treating. I don't know if they're going to honor the story from Agents of Shield at all. But what I find significant about it, because I think it's too much of a coincidence just to be discarded completely. Like, oh, forget that we already talked about this. In Agents of Shield, the Darkhold basically was a manual for chaos magic, which is what Wanda has.
Which is
It
what
allowed
that is.
it allowed the user to create something out of nothing, to create more material out of to create new matter out of nothing, which defies the laws of quantum physics. Like all matter is constant in the world. You can't create new matter. Everything is recycled matter. And the Darkhold defied that. It allowed you to like harness energy from other dimensions to create energy in this dimension, which had like detrimental effects on everything, on every dimension. If you take energy out of one dimension and bring it into another, the entire universe of all dimensions can collapse. And that was the thing they were fighting against in Agents of Shield. And Ghost Rider came into that
Right.
because he was like a
Yeah.
being from a hell dimension that possessed humans.
Well, that certainly
so,
sounds
like, I feel
exactly
it's
like
too
what
big a
Wanda might end up
coincidence
doing.
not to be,
Right.
because that's what Wanda has. She's creating
Right.
chaos magic. She's creating something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's relevant somehow.
Well, Agatha even says like you're meant to destroy like worlds or like
Yeah.
destroy. I don't know. I have a friend that's really into Shield, and he's like, "Wow, they're really just trying to bury it." And I don't know anything
mean,
about Shield, so maybe
it
that's
seems
true.
that
But
way.
I was like, yeah. I mean, he was kind of upset that like Sword seems to really just be replacing the whole Shield thing, and like it. I don't know. It just
It seems like they're kind of doing that with the Netflix a little bit. I mean, we'll see who pops in to the movies from those Netflix shows, but I think the like the canon of it all, I think it is being rewritten in future projects now. I mean, is the Dark
to
Lord,
some
for
extent.
example.
On the other hand, a lot of things that have been only tangentially related, like we talked last week about how Feige gave that interview in THR, where
Right.
he specifically commented on 3 of the 5 Netflix heroes. He commented on Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Daredevil.
Right?
And you know, and I know they have the rights to all of them.
Well, now, now. I mean,
And he
Iron
specifically
Fist,
sort of committed to like, you know, we know those characters have fans, and I'd love to use them in future projects, which to me indicates they may already be in the works.
Yeah,
We've
I
talked
mean,
about like Daredevil and Jessica Jones specifically.
Daredevil is most likely right now because I mean the Spider-Man 3 thing is likely because there is a courtroom scene. I mean, it makes sense. And then he's going to be in Secret Invasion, so
right. So I mean, the reason the idea of whether it's canon or not is relevant is because even the ones that haven't technically broken continuity, all the Marvel television shows on all platforms have been like technically within continuity, and they would have like little Easter eggs thrown in that were references.
I think there was like, you know, some like newspaper with like what happened in the first Avengers movie or something like that, or there'd be like a, you know, a news broadcaster of the same that appeared in like another movie or something like that. Yeah.
Like there would be little things like I was just rewatching just because I'm curious about picking up some of these little Easter eggs. I was rewatching some of the other shows, and there's like a scene in Cloak and Dagger, one of the main characters.
I haven't watched that.
It's whatever. You don't need to. I was just rewatching it, and there's a character who's a detective from New York, and there's a throwaway line that if you missed it, it would not affect your understanding of the show, where she's like, "Oh, I'm not bothered by superheroes. I've seen it before. You should meet my friend Misty." And it's a reference to Luke Cage, Misty Knight from the Luke Cage storyline. And there are like in the Runaways, there's this moment that if you blinked, you would miss it. But in season 2 of the Runaways, there's this character who is a sorcerer, and she starts to go dark, and the same thing happens to her eyes as Caecilius had in Doctor Strange. And you're like, oh, this is like some multiverse mirror dimension stuff. I mean, it was like the exact same makeup that Mads Mikkelsen had in Doctor Strange. So again, you didn't need to know that to understand the show, but it's a deliberate reference. Yeah, it's a nod. So the fact that like it leaves the door open for these characters to enter the canon MCU if they need to, or if like Feige feels like it will serve his story in some way, you know.
And it actually reminds me a little bit of how, like, although Cumberbatch didn't make an appearance like we wanted and we were hoping for, Agatha did mention the Sorcerer Supreme, and Wanda was seen basically doing the astral projection thing that we first see in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And so those are basically like indirect or direct, if you would think about it, like references to him in general. So that's in the same way. You're not getting Cumberbatch himself, but you're getting the door to Doctor Strange pretty directly there.
In the comments, Mintberry Crunch is mentioning Robbie Reyes, who is like the current Ghost Rider. It
looks like
in Agents of
Omni's
S.H.I.E.L.D.
joining.
world. Oh, great! We got
getting
Omni
Omni in
Media
here.
coming in. That's really interesting because Robbie Reyes was going to have his own spin-off show, and it didn't materialize for whatever reasons. Hey, Omni Media, what's
going
up?
on, man?
What's up?
What's up, man?
Hey, do we call you Omni or do we call? Is it
Yeah,
What do
Michael?
we call you, man?
Oh, you're muted.
Can hear you, man.
We heard him a second ago.
Bam. What
There
about
he
you?
is.
you?
There he
Hey.
is.
So yeah, do we call you
All right.
Omni?
Whatever you feel like. Omni, Mike, whatever.
Yeah, I'm Mike, so we'll just call you
We'll
Omni.
call
Oh,
you
we got
Omni.
two
Sounds
mics
good.
now.
So
Nice,
like
dude.
we're
Thanks
just
for joining.
chatting about Robbie Reyes real quick, Omni.
Mhm.
So yeah, some Mintberry Crunch just pointed this out. This is true. He was supposed to have his own spin-off show. It never happened. But the last time we saw him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he came back from another dimension where he traveled, and he had acquired new skills while he was away, and he used a sling ring style of opening a portal. It was a very clear, very deliberate reference to Doctor Strange. Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider had picked up like Doctor Strange dimensional portal skills while he was off in whichever dimension he was in. And it was like, well, that's not accidental. Like, he's coming back. So I don't know if he's going to be in Multiverse of Madness or not, but it seems a safe bet that like that was put there to set up a future appearance by Ghost Rider, by Robbie Reyes. And it really is. It's part of this interdimensional world that we're being led into in the Doctor Strange.
Right.
Ooh.
Listen, okay, so I know Omni, you have a stream at 4, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna we're gonna wrap ours up. Hopefully not too long after 4. We'll come join you and join your stream a little bit. But yeah, we talked a little bit about everything so far. But we had a long conversation before you showed up about the whole Evan Peters situation and
Oh, no.
how everyone is feeling
Bummer.
about that. I'd like to hear your take on if you felt like it was a slap in the face or if we basically all deserved it.
No, I don't think we deserved it at all, because I think with everything they unlike the Mephisto stuff, which I think was like all us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I think that was like
The
all
beekeeper is
fans.
That's
Mephisto.
on
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
That's totally
No,
Like,
it's the
that's on
mailman.
us.
It's the mailman.
The
Yeah,
devil,
yeah.
the devil.
Right.
It's the
We-
cicada, everybody.
Yeah, man. Like everything else has been so public. I mean, the Fox merger, all of that stuff. How much they've talked about Multiverse of Madness, everything surrounding Spider-Man 3. Like, there's like so many justifications, and within the show itself, that it's just like, is this it? Is this a
Yeah.
thing? What is this? And then it's just like, the boner joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which
okay,
is fine, because it is. I mean, like at the same
least it
time,
was a
that's a
funny
very
joke, though.
yeah. At the same time, it's a very
Oh.
Evan Peters.
We
thing
talked
to
about that.
do.
We're like,
That's
that's
exactly
on
what we
brand
said.
for the character. The whole thing was on brand for that character.
Yeah,
Even
So
the
in
set
general,
design of his,
do you
of
feel
his,
like-
room?
do you feel like then you're expecting this to have more of a payoff in the future? That this will be more significant than they've ended up letting it be.
I'm
here?
holding out hope, and maybe that's just me, but
No, it's not you.
just
It's
like-
at least
It's 4 out
two-thirds
of 5 of us.
Yeah,
John
4.
disagrees
Okay,
with
good.
you.
I
but-
want it, but I just don't see it happening.
I
Don't
don't
wanna
know.
set
Just
yourself
I
up
just
for
don't
even
know.
more
It's just
disappointment.
tough to
with the
see that
mutants being
happen.
announced and everything, like I would be
Yeah.
amazed. if-
Right,
Well,
like
we'll wait for an
Wanda's our
official, but yeah.
introduction to mutants within this
True,
world,
true.
and
Yeah,
I mean, we still don't know who Jimmy's witness was
I
either.
feel like
Right.
exactly.
we've covered
exactly.
every theory at this point, but yeah, it's too messy not to have some relevance in future. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Although the witness protection thing doesn't work for me because then it would just be coincidental that Fox Quicksilver happens to be in the same town right next door to where Vision and Wanda had their house bought.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
And
I
what's
guess you
true.
could.
This is one
stretch
of
to
those
find
things
a
where
reason
I'm
for
like,
that.
I'm not ready to have a theory about it. There are a couple
Right.
strings, like the introduction of this idea of the Nexus, or that
Right.
scene that he did that we said sounded very sincere, the fact that he has super speed. There are a couple strings that I feel are hanging, or that are loose ends, but I'm not ready to have a coherent theory like he's Blue
Yeah.
Sky, because I don't feel like I have better evidence for one particular theory over another, that would be us. That would be on
I
us.
feel
Yeah,
like if they were
definitely.
trolling us,
That's
if they
true.
were
Yeah.
just trolling us, there would be much better ways to do it that wasn't so
Exactly
rude.
right.
So
Right.
like,
Yeah.
did the necklace give him super speed?
That's what I said.
Yes, this is what we were
That's what
talking
I
about.
said.
I don't think
that
so,
was
but
Agatha's,
but
that was
also-
Agatha's charm, right? And I don't know
I
if she has
guess.
that much mojo.
He didn't use
But also,
super speed
he-
after
he-
that charm was taken off.
He
so-
wouldn't have gotten taken down by Monica if he had super speed, unless she just like.
But she also
So we're
took him
saying-
down.
Agatha
She's a
can just
superhero now,
grant
too,
While he's-
superhero.
That's true.
powers
That's
to
true.
people?
That's true.
Yeah.
Agatha can just grant superpowers to people. Then, like,
Yeah,
She's
Yeah,
exactly.
I
like-
don't think
so.
she has that much mojo. That's the mojo
She's
she
like
wants.
rogue
That's
without
why she's
having to
after
touch people?
Wanda.
That's major
So-
mojo.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think the fact that we're still now for the second time going through the museum
Hex
on this
illusion? I don't know.
means we have been trolled, whether they intended to troll us or not. And we should just
Yeah.
not submit to being trolled anymore and admit that we don't know. And like, we're just going to have to wait for answers
Okay.
on that one.
I definitely maintain that it's definitely not our fault. That wasn't people running with internet theories. That was us running with what they were giving us, and
Yeah,
Mm.
totally.
so it's not our fault.
But like, we can't answer it now. We're going to go in circles forever and like
Exactly.
end up tearing our own
Yeah.
hair
All right.
out,
With that in
so-
mind, let's move on from Evan
Yeah.
Peters because there's no real answer to that. One thing I do want to talk about is the my favorite. I don't know about you guys, but my favorite scene from this episode was Vision philosophizing with Vision
Oh, I
and
got a
was
lot of
awesome. That
thoughts
was
about
defeating
this.
him with philosophy. And the one question that I was left with after that, with a lot of people are asking, are where did White Vision go? He
He
got
just dipped, man.
he just did.
Yeah.
He just yeeted himself,
Did.
and then now where did he go?
Bye.
Why didn't he
He
help
went
out?
to have an identity crisis by himself somewhere else. Give him space.
Probably.
Because what we know of White Vision from the comics is that he has no emotions, right? So we're assuming that he just had Hex Vision just basically gave him his memories back, but that doesn't mean he has emotion now. He's
Right.
still emotionless,
True.
right? So okay.
But he has those experiences, so I think he's gonna develop the emotions, and
that
we'll
really
get into a
depends how
weird
you
like.
and he'll be like,
just
"Oh
my
no, I
head."
almost crushed the love of my life skull."
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Where do we
this
think he'll
is-
pop in?
You know, I don't know where, but like
Hmm.
they definitely deliberately dropped that thing where he says,
Right.
you know, I was an AI and I was a body with no soul, and who knows what I'll be next. And I mean that
True.
obviously sets up the expectation that we are going to find out what he'll be next at some point.
Mhm.
You know, it's
One
not
day.
he's not gone. One day he's
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
back.
I mean, this show
Well,
doesn't
yeah, I
have
mean-
a season 2, so I mean,
True.
I guess
Well,
it could be anything.
Yeah.
But
Well, Wanda even
yeah.
says like we'll say hello again,
right.
like we've said goodbye twice. We'll
It's
say hello
inevitable.
again.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And
if
like
you guys
I don't.
will allow me to get like super nerdy for a minute, this
Go
scene,
ahead.
this is one of my. I mean, I was so
What we're
excited
here
that they
for.
brought in the ship of Theseus because it is. I'm a classicist, and it is one of my favorite sort of.
Omni has a wall of like pop dolls
Omni's
behind
like,
him, and you're like,
"Yup."
"Can I say nerdy stuff
Omni
here?
and
Is
I
that
need to hang
cool?"
out more.
Oh, I wish I had my collection. My
This was
background
very
right now.
cool on the it was cool even on the superficial level of the idea of he's been rebuilt, reprogrammed, put back together. I don't know if anybody noticed this. It is certainly intentional. That scene took place within a library.
Mhm.
A library is an analog server. It is the original data repository. Vision was born, like first Vision from the Avengers films was born in a lab. His consciousness was born in a computer. We've talked a lot, including earlier in this stream, about how he's always been more than the sum of his parts. And the scene Vision versus Vision complicated that because, you know, which one of them is him? Neither of them, both of them. And Mike, you and I have had some conversations about like, if does consciousness equal personhood? What makes a person a person? And this to me sets up this whole ship of Theseus conversation, apart from like the physical thing of his actual body has been rebuilt, his data drive has been messed with. In art and archaeology, there's this term, a palimpsest, which is when like one document has been written over the top of another one, but the other one's still under there somewhere. In art, you might have heard the term pentimento in painting, when the original image begins to reassert itself over time to show through. So the overlaid images
Okay.
being
I see where you're
one.
going with this. Yeah.
And I think this is, I mean, this actually opens up so many questions about like bioethics. Really interesting futurist questions. If anybody has like time on their hands and an afternoon to kill, Go on Wikipedia and just look up futurism and then click on every link and go down the rabbit hole, because there's some weird stuff. But this is very relevant in terms of things that are in the world right now. Like we have AI, we have cloning is a thing that is happening. We have like advanced virtual reality.
I don't think Hayward is concerned with ethics. Like I said, he
Oh, no, not
he
Hayward.
emptied a
Forget
whole
Hayward.
clip at
He
children.
turned out to be just kind of a run-of-the-mill angry dude. I'm
Yeah,
not
so-
even concerned about him. I'm
Or
thinking about
Mephisto.
I'm thinking about like AI and advanced virtual reality and cloning, and also, most specifically like extreme body modification.
Hey,
And these are ideas that like keep coming back. So what, at what point, what I said about Wanda astral projecting, and how many times can you split a human consciousness before it's less than the sum of its parts, before she's just Voldemort, before, there are Horcruxes everywhere. How true is that when we're talking about something that is synthetic, that is virtual, where like data can be moved whole as is, like Hex Vision can just touch White Vision's head and like the memory cache is restored.
Right.
He gets all of that with like one touch of Vision's magic finger. That sounds horrible. But like, you know what I mean? It really opens up these bioethical questions that are really relevant in the real world about consciousness and personhood and what makes a person a person. And I found that whole Ship of Theseus conversation, like the ship in the metaphor, works on multiple levels.
100%.
It's not just about like a robot being rebuilt. It's not
funny
just
because
about a
if you're
data
thinking about
drive.
Paul Bettany and how it's funny because we're talking about how he accidentally like set us off on some theories, making us think that there was going to be some actor, and it ended up just being himself that he was talking about. But when you consider the position he's in, that not only does he have to act like a robot, he has to act like two different kinds of robots in the same scene. A robot with emotions and a robot without emotions, and when you consider all of the different levels that he has to balance in order to think about that to me, I thought that was outstanding acting.
Let's give him credit. That was a fantastic scene.
Yeah.
He had great
Listen,
chemistry with
That was good.
himself.
That's good.
Omni obviously is going to have to leave in a few minutes because he's got his own stream to do. So I want to get his opinion on a couple of things. One question that I had, I'm interested to know what you thought, was why, when they say goodnight to Billy and Tommy, does Wanda say, "Thanks for choosing me to be your mom"? Why did she choose that? Why did she use that word? I thought that was interesting. Omni, what do you think?
Don't know, other than to allude to like what they were in the comics as like a throwaway, because obviously the way they set it up in this, at least, is not going to be, oh, I just accidentally sucked you out of Mephisto. Clearly they don't want to go that route right now. So I don't know. It's something I've still been thinking about, and I'm just not sure where I set on that.
Right, because it implies that they exist before her giving them life or whatever, so that they're choosing her to be their mother. I thought that was an interesting. It seemed like they put that line in there on purpose, and that that word wasn't a mistake.
Definitely.
We hear their screams at the end credit scene, as Scarlet Witch is going through looks like the Darkhold. So I think there will be a future for them. For those
definitely,
two.
sure,
they're setting up
definitely.
Young Adventures, so I think eventually they have to come back.
Yeah, we
In
pointed out how
some
that
shape.
scene where Monica stops the bullets, but then she misses one, and then Billy stops the last bullet. That it was like, oh, that's definitely a tease for Monica, Billy, Tommy. They're all
She was like,
the
nice
players.
too.
Yeah.
And he was like, you too. And
Yeah.
it was
They're
super,
going to
like,
be BFFs in the future,
Dude,
and they're
okay.
going to
when they're all
So,
the same
especially
age,
since
because
Billy
those
and
two are
Tommy are going to
gonna
age up. Yeah,
again.
exactly.
So I wonder, because I haven't seen too much of it up to this point. There's been Hayward defenders, like in the comments up to this
Saying
point. And
what?
He shot at children.
He just shot. Yeah, he just like nobody's standing there, and he's just like, let's
Oh,
just
kids.
shoot some kids today.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Darcy, who by the way did not have enough screen time in the finale. By the way, they gave her one line, which
Yeah.
was a great
She was there
line.
for
She
a
said,
couple
"Have fun and
seconds.
kissing."
She's
But-
coming back though. She's in Thor. She's
Yeah,
you know.
she's in
Yeah,
Thor.
yeah.
So we'll
There
see
were
right now.
multiple. I checked the reaction. Multiple like out loud applause moments for us. One of them was obviously Scarlet Witch getting her crown and becoming Scarlet Witch, but the
She looks so
Darcy
cool, though.
driving the car into Hayward was an out loud applaud moment for us for sure.
Yeah, I just hope
Yeah.
she keeps the Carney outfit.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know. I don't, Omni, if you had heard anything about this, but we were joking about how they made her outfit looked a little bit like Wonder Man's outfit. It was like blue
Yeah.
with like a red W kind of, and she punched a dude and looked pretty
Little
strong.
bit.
I don't know. Anyway,
But then she's Wonder Woman, and we already got that.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be confusing.
Hipster Sergeant Pepper, but
Yeah,
Like-
yeah, I'm more subscribed to that.
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Is
I'm-
there anything else on the list?
I mean, for WandaVision specifically, we should touch on Spectrum, because I think we've really only hit the tip of the iceberg.
Are we
with
calling her Spectrum, or they didn't give her
They
a
didn't
funny
tell
name,
us.
as we say?
We know that like her mother's call sign was Photon,
Yeah.
I
which
like
might be
Photon
like,
better.
okay, we've
think they're
dealt
going
with
with
Photon.
Photon
I
then.
think that though means that they've dealt with Photon and set it aside because Maria was Photon.
Oh, so you think she'll
That's
be
kinda-
Spectrum?
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
she's
that's
Spectrum,
kinda
and
how
I
I
think the
took it.
multiple eye colors maybe refer to that.
Yes.
We were
So far,
we-
she's
we
had blue eyes,
thought-
purple eyes, yellow
Right.
eyes.
When her eyes first went purple, our knee-jerk reaction was she's under Agatha's spell, but that turned out not to be the case, which means she can make her own eyes blue and purple. And then we saw her eyes go yellow before she stopped bullets. We were like, that's new. So my guess, I don't actually know a ton about that character in the comic, so I don't know if Omni or Jon or Dylan, if you know anything, but my impression is that different eye colors might go with different powers, different skill sets, and that
Yeah, that
she
makes sense.
probably
That
has
seems
a
to be the
lot
idea.
of mojo that we haven't seen yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her whole shtick is she could see, manipulate, and use the entire electromagnetic spectrum from like all of the different colors of radiation. So she does like shift around through colors depending on what she's trying to do or what radiation she's working with. So that's one thing that's just like, okay, well, I'm going to need somebody to break this down because I'm not smart enough to figure this out or patient enough to go through and try to analyze what they were doing with her in this one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely we're gonna see that. I mean, she's gonna be in multiple projects. I mean, we got, if we want to talk about that other end credit scene with her walking into the theater and the scroll thing. I don't know if that, I think it's a setup for both Secret Invasion and Captain Marvel 2. So
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, which makes me wonder when this is gonna, like, when are these? Because Falcon and Winter Soldier, we're assuming, like we said, is a buddy cop grounded show. It seems like it's not gonna have like Wandavision
Grounded,
connections.
but in like
it
the
will not
world
go
where
galactic.
there's
So, like,
magic and superheroes.
Where are we
and stuff.
anticipating some of these story threads are going to get picked back up again? When's the next entry point, if you will, into these stories? If it's Captain Marvel 2 or if it's Doctor Strange, then we're waiting, a year or more.
Yeah,
Before
it's gonna
we're
be a
gonna-
wait. Yeah,
Guys,
we're-
there's gonna be a wait for some of these things. Like when
Yeah,
I
if you
say,
consider
we keep
Iron
coming
Man is
back to this
2008,
idea.
right.
And then Endgame is 2019 or whatever.
Yeah.
Then
yeah.
it's over a decade. I don't
Been
want to
running
wait
for a
10
while.
years, though. I need it now. I
Yeah.
need it. I know. And now that they've gone week to week, you're kind of anticipating every Friday there's going to be something Marvel related. And for the
Right.
most
Kinda
part, it
will
seems like
be.
there will be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you kind of don't want to like lose track of where you are in I mean they've really made so much out of Wanda now. She's so significant that
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, all right, well, how does this connect back to Wanda? With everything you watch, it's gonna
Well, and
be
unfortunately, I think some of the timeline has to do with COVID lockdowns and with shooting
Mhm.
schedules being
Right, yeah,
interrupted,
yeah.
because I think this was originally going to lead literally directly into Doctor Strange, not just from
oh,
story,
that's
but
true.
Right.
dimensional,
Yeah.
and they couldn't finish Doctor Strange.
Actually,
when
WandaVision
schedule
was like the
because of
only one that
lockdowns.
didn't get
So-
moved, right? It was like
something like that. Everything else got
Yeah.
moved, but that includes Doctor Strange. And so, I know I'm not the only one who did a big MCU project of rewatching everything in order leading up to WandaVision. I went over the top because I watched a lot of the shows as well. It really helped, honestly, because I've seen all of these films multiple times, whenever. But it really helped in terms of knowing, like, which
even Thor:
Infinity
The Dark
Stone-
World,
Oh no.
even Iron Man 2. Really?
No,
Iron Man 2 's not the worst
I don't
film.
know if I watched
I'm
that
gonna-
movie
I'm gonna
times
defend it.
before. But
Yeah.
I like
it
Iron
really
Man
helped
too.
to sort of know which Infinity Stone was where at what time.
Yeah.
That really helped clarify the timeline for me. And
Yeah.
stopping short of saying I'm going to do that whole thing again, I'm sure that like many little angels on the internet are going to put together good timelines for us to refresh us before the next thing comes
All right,
Yeah,
out.
there'll be those infographics. And
Yeah.
Omni, before you have to jet, do you think Wanda is going to end up being the villain of Phase 4, the main villain?
Of Phase 4 as a total, I don't think so.
Because I mean, if you consider all of the here comes Mephisto, and people were assuming he would Mephisto, Nightmare, and was it Kang the Conqueror? Who are the people that people are assuming is
Nightmare might show up in Doctor Strange, but that's a different topic. So
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
People have said Grim Reaper. There have been many.
maybe not main villain,
the
but I
Grim
think
Reaper
Wanda,
thing that
Wanda
got me
might be the
upset,
main antagonist
because that was a
essentially.
clear tease.
I think she will be definitely a force that they have to deal with.
Right.
Because again, I think she's going down this road where she's unintentionally going to be doing more harm, trying to do her own good. Because that's just kind of the fault of her character in the comics too. Is like she's always teetering on this line of being accepted and then not, and then accepted and then not by humanity, the mutants, every other hero on the planet, just because of the level of influence she has.
Do we think Wanda and White Vision are going to be able to have a relationship with each other down the road, or is that complicated?
I doubt it.
Yeah. Way down the road, maybe.
So
if
like the
everything
love
gets
between
resolved,
Wanda
but-
and Vision is over, but their story may not be.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Essentially.
Yeah, I like that. Because I was under.
Sorry.
Keep going. Sorry. No, I totally cut you off.
I was
Keep
just
going.
saying, like, from what I understand, at least in the comics too, ever since he became White Vision, they've also never reconciled either
Mhm.
There you
after
go.
their divorce. So
Hey, look at that!
I don't
Omni,
know if
you're
they
getting
would decide to do that in the show or not, or the
apparently you're
MCU or
getting
not.
subscribers off of this live stream, Omni. So not that
Whoops.
you need them. But yeah, guys, don't forget to go over to All New Nerds too and subscribe to their channel.
Thank you.
Because congrats, Omni, on passing 10,000 subscribers. That's great, man.
Yeah, great
You're
job, man.
definitely a rising
Congrats.
YouTube star. We've got our eye on you because we do all the same content, and we actually pointed out in our live stream last week that we're like really amazed by how much you cover and how you're able to basically get all I'm struggling just to do WandaVision like once a week.
My sleep
And-
schedule is
yeah.
straight trash.
You are
Yeah.
a vampire, my friend. You don't
I
even.
assume so.
Yeah.
Just looking at your
I took a
background,
nap
you got a lot of stuff
literally
going on.
right before this. I woke
Yeah.
up. I was like, all right, I got a couple minutes. Got to get in here.
Yeah. And I've seen you're doing like streaming games too. So I mean, you got it all across the board. It's a lot of work. I mean, you make it look effortless and it's professional. So it's props to you for getting it done and doing it on a professional level. That's
I
it's
appreciate that.
inspiring, and I'm glad you were able to come in and chat with us a little bit, and hopefully we can bring
course.
you back in the future and do some more of these.
I would love it, man.
Yes, and I don't know if you noticed, but we're actually all East Coasters here, so we were trying to get a little bit of a right.
Hell yeah.
You said you were East Coast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yep.
got some. We're actually all Boston area. You can keep your location secret, but if
I'm
Not
more
at all.
south.
okay, yeah. But yeah, well, if you know anybody else that wants to join a little East Coast group of nerds, then we're looking to get a little conglomerate going on.
Sounds
East
good.
Coast
I know a
Avengers.
couple people.
Nerds
Coast,
Unite.
yeah.
Nice.
Very good.
All right, and if
Love
guys,
it.
if after our stream, go run over to Omni's channel. He's got a stream starting in a couple minutes, and I'm assuming you're doing Wanda, right? Talking
Yeah.
Wanda, and
Yeah, today's just gonna be one.
cool, man. We're just gonna talk Wanda all night, basically.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank
yeah,
you
thanks
so
for
much.
popping in, dude.
Thanks.
See
See
ya.
ya, man.
Nice
Come
meeting you.
back
See ya.
Anytime.
All right, man. Cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, is there anything else WandaVision that we want to talk about before we kind of close up?
Probably is. I gotta.
Yeah,
let me
It probably will be.
do a. Well,
I mean, like I had
wanted-
said that the
yeah.
Senor Scratchy, we're just assuming that was we never met.
I
her
don't think that's
son,
gonna-
because we had said like,
Yeah.
oh, that rabbit ate a bird. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're just kind of a moment. and
See, that's
there's
an
not gonna be
okay
too much of
throw
it.
off in my opinion, because they
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
what they were doing,
I'm
naming it
not bothered.
Scratchy.
I am
and, like,
furious about Pietro.
There was a lot of very deliberate misdirection in the show, but most of them don't bother me. That's why I
Yeah.
think the Quicksilver thing is something different, just because
Exactly.
it's so big and thorny. But
Yeah.
long story short, we're just gonna have to wait and see. My closing thought on this is that it really did a beautiful job. Somebody in the comments above, I'm gonna have to scroll back up. 92 Chris said, if Hayward's a villain, so is Tony. And I mean, I don't need to dig into that particular example,
It's an
but I
interesting
think
thought.
this show, the MCU in general, and this show in particular, have done a beautiful job of complicating the idea of good guys and bad guys. It is not as simple as it might always seem, and that like everybody has aspects of both, and that we all contain multitude.
Yeah. It's the way it should be.
And I think the show humanizes people, including not only powered people, but like human bad guys, like Hayward. He's traumatized by the snap. It's understandable.
Right.
It's interesting
Doesn't
that
excuse his actions, but like it really gives us an insight into why he is the way he is. And this show has really blurred the lines between good and evil in a very, I think, useful and real kind of way.
And I think it's interesting that Marvel is under the Disney umbrella now, because I've always thought of Disney as sort of like the typical like villains are bad and good guys are good guys, and there's like you know Maleficent and you name it, Ursula, any of these
Cruella de
villains,
Vil, literally.
Scarred.
Yeah.
They're non-redeemable. And I always liked. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Miyazaki movies. Studio Ghibli. And I always thought that the Japanese version of doing things was always so much better, and that all the villains were never really bad guys. They were just had questionable motives, and then they would have redeemable.
Human,
Yeah, exactly. And that's way more interesting. And in regards to the
we had made
three-dimensional
the point
characters.
like it's Disney, it's for kids, but at the same time, Roald Dahl is for kids as well. That's the darkest shit I've ever read in my life. Nothing I've read as an adult is as dark as like Charlie and the Chocolate
Show us some dark
Factory.
stuff.
I mean, the fact that like children can watch this.
You ever read The
mean we
Giving
have to
Tree?
make it simplistic.
That book is dark, dude.
So I mean, like, I just thought that was really artfully done. The blurring of those lines and the creation of gray areas for us to swim around in.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
Yeah,
that was great. Trying to think. Well, I was gonna say. I was just gonna say one more thing about the whole Pietro thing. I mean, it is kind of odd.
There again, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I do. It'll be quick.
Yeah. No, let's talk.
It's more of a thing to look forward to. So there has been multiple reports and a leak from a pretty credible source that there is obviously X-Men's in development, and it's going to be retitled to The Mutants. So that's what the movie will be called. And it is interesting that movie that comes out after the show wraps up. So that's interesting. Maybe that could be where he comes in, but again, I don't know. We'll have to see, because that's going to be way down the road. That's going to be like
that's true. Yeah,
past Fantastic Four and all that stuff. So that'll be a while. But did we already talk about like the whole thing with Wanda and like kind of her role in Doctor Strange? I think we kind of touched upon that.
No, just that we see them. I think we've mentioned that I see Wanda and Doctor Strange facing off at some point, particularly because Agatha specifically said, "You're more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme," and I was like, "Oh, he's gonna have something to say about that."
He's not gonna like that. That man has an ego on him.
Yeah,
so...
especially since he's gonna be way more trained than her. So it might be one of those. He'll hand her butt.
Yeah.
From a magic standpoint at first, but then she'll have the one up on him in terms of just being more powerful in general.
Too much theorizing at this point is gonna, it's just us trolling ourselves, because so many things are possible. But I mean, there is certainly the possibility that like she's trying to open the nexus to bring back her kids.
We've also theorized though that like
Doctor Strange has to stop her so that the world doesn't fall apart.
Yeah, the Doctor Strange's role might be to clean up her mess, essentially.
That seems to sound like a synopsis.
Because at the end of Thor Ragnarok, is it right where he shows up? Is it the end of Thor Ragnarok post credit where he talks about Loki and he's like, "I've had my eye on Loki, like he's a bad dude." So it's like if he's got his eye on Loki, you can assume he's going to have his eye on Wanda. Yeah, and that he's going to be like wanting to stop her from doing Darkhold stuff.
I am kind of shocked that
opening up portals to other dimensions.
I'm shocked they didn't show up.
I
mean, it really
thought
sounded like he was going to show up. I mean, the whole thing with, that it's going to continue into the movie. I think like one thing is like, I don't know. I mean, especially Wanda becoming the Scarlet Witch and like gaining all that power, and also having a super old witch like Agatha, and like how that like, I assume it went on Strange's radar. I mean, like it kind of has to, because he does deal with that stuff. So I am a little shocked that he never showed up.
Yeah.
If
I have to level one main criticism, I'd feel like the pacing was great, and then towards the end of the season, we all started to be like, wait a minute, there seems like there's so much left that they
Yeah.
need to
That's
wrap
where
up,
I'm at.
and that they
That-
kind of like couldn't cram all of that into this last episode, and that it was just a little bit rushed there at the end to try and they didn't end up tying up a lot of this stuff. So it does feel like it had this great
Yeah.
pace, and then there's just sort of this end where it's like, oh wait, there should be more to this, and I know we've already come to the conclusion that we're gonna see more. It's coming, but
Yeah.
in
It's all
terms of
coming.
like the package that we just got it in, it did feel a little bit condensed at the end there.
I think
in
the only
terms
thing that
of
was
like
really wrapped up was like, the Hex Vision and Wanda's relationship and like the
because I would have even liked to have like maybe seen them like if you could like combine episodes 1 and 2 into one episode and then have like another episode in the middle there.
I mean,
for
there was the
filling stuff
10th
out a little
episode
bit.
rumor, but
I
Doesn't
almost
look
feel
like
like there
that's
should have
happening.
been one. And wouldn't it be great if they
I
still
agree
dropped
with
that on
Dale.
us?
Patience, y'all.
Patience.
This story
yes,
is.
I know. I don't
this
have it. I
story
don't
is
have
a is a journey, not a
I need
destination.
it now.
Oh yeah, I'm so used to the like so and so will continue and whatever,
Yeah,
and it's
use
like
this
I'm so used to
time,
the instant.
John. I advise you to go like punch something. Honestly, like go
I'm
to a
not that mad. I'm
gym
partly
and like go to
joking.
punch, not a person, like a punching bag. Like go work it out.
Kevin
but, like,
Feige, go
we're
find
gonna,
it.
Can't wait
we're
for
gonna
all
get so
the
much more.
WandaVision
And while
collectibles.
we're all like waiting, use this time to explore other properties like the Marvel television shows that you might not have watched. There's some
Yeah.
fun
I know,
stuff
there's
in
a lot
there.
that I haven't seen
It
on the
feels like
TV
such a
side.
little inside joke every time you actually understand one of the Easter egg references that they
Yeah.
make.
Yeah.
There's stuff.
Yeah, I never got into agents. I mean, I love the Netflix shows. Like,
Yeah.
they're
Well,
amazing.
Jessica
and
Jones especially is one
Jessica
of the only.
Jones,
I was
Daredevil
never-
is
yeah,
something else.
that show had the best stunts in like all
See,
time
Dylan?
television.
Daredevil,
want to,
yeah,
that
I
was
know, I
good.
gotta watch it.
Jessica
trying to
Jones
get
is
Dylan
one
to
of
watch
the few
it.
characters whose like books I've actually read. Like I've read 2 of
Oh,
the
okay.
3 Jessica Jones series. I have them. I'm so into that character.
She's great.
I have heard rumors that she might appear in She-Hulk.
It would make
Oh.
logical sense.
It
I
would
have a
make
thing.
sense because she's kind of a She-Hulk herself, and I mean that would be great. I
That'd be
love
great,
her.
yeah,
I
if,
love
like-
Kristen Ritter. I think it's the role Kristen Ritter was born
Yeah.
to play. Like,
Oh,
and
what
I
do you got
love-
there?
I don't know anything about Jessica Jones. I got this in a loot crate.
What?
It's like a
Oh.
cool
Wow.
toy, and I don't know. It's all dusty because it's been under there, and
Oh my
I don't know a
God.
thing about her.
Jessica deserves better,
Right,
Dylan.
right.
Treat
Like
her
the
with
story.
respect.
Probably does.
He's got a shrine to it.
Ryan,
Yeah.
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 You guys all see the concept art for Loki that came out this week and read some stuff about that?
I didn't.
No.
but I'll
I
look it up.
saw the like picture of like the concept art kind of picture of Tom and then Owen
Yeah.
Wilson. Is that what you're
Yeah, and
talking
then
about?
they released they released images of Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson in their costumes.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they put out a picture of Miss Minutes. It's this logo that I'm not sure if I'm correct. It's definitely, before our time, but I associate it with kind of like post-depression era, the sort of productivity, the birth of the like modern office place, the sort of modern concept of work that we're actually kind of coming through right now because of a year of COVID lockdowns. But that idea of like productivity and time management, and people are theorizing that might be some kind of logo or mascot for the time agency that Loki now has to
Oh,
work
okay.
for. So I guess what they've released is that when Loki 2012 Loki went into the Tesseract, he ended up like unintentionally time traveling or dimension hopping, and he gets picked up by this time authority, which tries
Time
to
police. Yeah.
the time police. They regulate timelines, and he has to
That show's
work
gonna be
to
so
sort
cool.
of fix the rift
Oh,
in the
God.
timeline that
Time
he
cop.
caused. But
Time
then like
cop.
his punishment is to work for the time police and travel through time and stop other rifts in the timeline from happening.
Right.
And it's cool, the concept art, because we see him in a more modern day outfit, not his Asgardian robes.
Like the jacket, right? Is
Yeah.
that
Right. He
Yeah.
doesn't have his horns.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his cape. He has like pants and a
He's
belt.
got
and-
another Loki look though in that. I mean, that trailer we got is more kind of similar to the more modern Loki look. It's like the president Loki he runs for mayor, he runs for president in some story, and that's kind of that look that we saw in the trailer. So yeah, I know that show's gonna be. So.
Let's talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier real quick before we wrap.
Yes,
everything
I would
up.
love to. Yeah.
There was
Because
a great trailer too. That a new trailer came out this
I
week.
think
It
from
looks great.
what they've given us and what they've shown us so far, everybody can reasonably understand that it just looks like a buddy cop show where it's there are I love you but I hate you, but I love you but I hate you, but we got to work together to defeat the bad guy who's apparently Baron Zemo. who we've already seen some of.
We got
in
a lot of
MCU.
villains. There's a bunch of villains. in the
Okay,
show.
so
Yeah.
that's just what I was gonna get at is that like since we kind of like know the style of whatever of the show they're giving to us, where do we feel like it's taking us? What's the actual storyline of this show gonna be?
I have no idea.
Well, it's gonna okay.
Is it
We're
just
making
There's
a
gonna be
whole-
some
we-
corruption because all right. So the main thing, I think the biggest thing from the show right now is U.S. agent, and he basically is going to be the government-appointed Captain America.
Yeah, okay.
And that's going to be, I think, where most of the plot resides in. There's going to be side plots with these terrorist group called the Flag Smashers, who in the comics, it's one person and it's a Captain America villain named Flag Smasher. But now they're more of a terrorist group. And I think they're going to be, at whatever events, let's say Sam and Bucky are at, or a U.S. agent thing, they're going to be messing around with that.
Really though, this is like what this comes down to is that this is Captain America 4, in a way.
Sure.
The Falcon and
Yeah.
Winter Soldier can be seen as like the continuation of the Captain America storyline.
Mhm. It'll probably sum up to be a movie because it's 6 episodes. I don't know how long they're going to be, but I think like,
They're
30 to
closer
40
to an
minutes.
hour. There's 6.
Okay.
Yeah, they're so
Ooh.
going to be 44 to an hour.
Okay.
Probably.
That's
in that
crazy.
Oh,
range.
okay. Yeah. So
Interesting.
really this is just going to be
Yeah.
like, I mean, because Zemo is like the main villain of Civil War, right? In a way.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be more of a slow burn. I think. I mean, Anthony Mackie said this in a quote, so this is not kind of a theory of mine. He says that Zemo's gonna kind of take a hero role in the beginning, and then slowly kind of be like,
Or
okay,
try to, yeah.
this isn't working.
This
So
is-
then we'll
okay.
see whatever happens with that.
And also the whole Captain America shield thing. Obviously,
Right.
Captain left it to Falcon. Do we think that
And
there's
that
going
was
to be a
taken.
storyline of Falcon being like, I don't deserve this, and Bucky eventually ending up with the shield because Bucky does have more of a
Maybe that'd be
They're
kind
brothers.
of
he's super
That would be
powered.
interesting. I find that very unlikely. I think it's more gonna be because the government takes that shield from Sam because Sam doesn't own it.
Yeah.
It's really the government, so they
Yeah.
take it, they confiscate it, and give it to.
Someone pointed that
John
out when
Locke.
Hayward was like, I can't let you put $3 billion worth of vibranium on the ground. They were like, holy crap. Like, so Captain
How did they
America's
take
just
that
walking
from
around with
Wakanda, by
like a
the
$3
way?
billion shield, basically.
How,
yeah.
yeah. How did they take Vision's body from Wakanda? By the way, I don't know if that's kind of crazy. That that went unnoticed.
That's
Yeah.
true. They
Anyways,
did just have to go to Wakanda. But me and Johnny are actually scripting a video of everything you need to know
Yeah.
for Falcon the Winter Soldier. So if you are
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
a
I'm
little
looking forward to
loose,
seeing it.
because me personally, I don't know like too much about these characters like comic wise and like their
Mhm.
backstories. So if you are interested in that, people, that'll be posted probably Friday.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd also
Yeah.
like to shout out Dale Ehrman for the All New Nerds sub. We
Thank you.
appreciate that very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah. thanks,
Appreciate
Nicole.
it. Yeah. So the thing about Falcon the Winter Soldier, it's interesting because both Bucky and Sam take the shield at one point in the comics. But I do think it's gonna be Sam. I think Sam's gonna Sam, apparently he does have a cap suit. So I think that'll be amazing when we see that first off. But
Am I imagining that
yeah.
though? I feel like I saw that a little bit, like Sam having like a little bit of a reluctance towards the role.
I think we'll definitely see that.
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
there'll
we'll
be, there'll
explore
be
that
some
for sure.
reluctance to
Well,
actually.
Look, and
Yeah,
that's a
because even in
recurring
that scene-
theme just in like the
Yeah.
comic world and in the sci-fi fantasy world in general. It's biblical. We talked about this last
Mhm.
week. It's Jacob
Right.
wrestling with the angel. It's being the reluctant hero.
sure. Yeah.
And that's very human. That's something that like really is going to be very relatable to folks. The idea of having a responsibility that you'd rather not deal with, but that you have to accept.
Right. Yeah.
From a
we'll d-
logistical standpoint, we heard this week, or not this week, but we've heard that this is like 6 episodes closer to an hour. And the same is true of Loki. And
Mm.
they have announced that Loki is intended to run for multiple seasons. So that's kind of
Right.
exciting because these both seem like they have the potential to be more serial, like week to week. Obviously, there is an overarching storyline because they exist within the MCU
Mhm.
and the characters exist within the MCU, but it sounds like the projects in and of themselves have the potential to be more serialized and to be adaptable for future seasons, which is
Pl-
cool.
Playing into that, I want to see like the public not exactly accepting him as Captain America, and they're more interested in U.S. agent. Where like the public's like, we don't think you deserve to have this shield and everything. Like we want the
I
old,
think
we
that'll
want the old
be-
Cap.
Yeah, that
So I
sounds
think
likely.
that'll be interesting too. And
Do
he's
we,
kind
do
of
we
gonna
think
prove
Chris Evans
himself.
is gonna have a old Cap appearance at some
There's
point?
a lot of theories.
I want to say there's going to be one scene with him, but I don't know. That would
There's
be
I
really
mean, we're not
I
going to put
heard
ourselves in a
somewhere.
WandaVision scenario here where we
Right.
get
Yeah, I
all
don't want to
worked
do
up.
that. I don't want to theorize like that.
But I do
heavy
think it's a
again, but-
reasonable thing to expect, right?
for sure.
It's not.
Yeah.
I
It's not
heard
So was Doctor
somewhere,
Strange, but we didn't get it.
like
He's the
I heard
cicada.
somewhere that he was rumored to be making an appearance at some point.
Yeah,
I think what we need
he's
to,
apparently signed a contract again.
you know, so that we're not joining some torch mob on the internet. I think it's important to remember that it's like fun for us to play around in the dirt with all of these theories.
Yeah.
But that like it's kind of a grab bag. We can't have all of them, and I don't think we'd be happy if we did have all of them because it would be a mess.
Do we know where
And,
Falcon
you
and
know-
Winter Soldier lands on the timeline officially yet?
No, I was trying to
No.
look. I don't know. Yeah, Dylan
Just
and I
after
could
that
try and
obviously
look.
is going to
so we know.
change. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
think
like,
that'll-
we see like Hawkeye, and we
Yeah.
might see some of these other characters.
I wonder if it'll do right after that scene in Endgame with Sam taking the shield
I
when
mean,
they're at the
it
lake.
does
I wonder
seem
if
like
it'll be
we
right
kinda
after
get
that.
caught
It does
in,
seem
like,
like that would happen. So
Everything we're going to watch from here on out, Marvel related, is just going to be like, who's going to show up? Who's going to be?
yeah.
Obviously, we don't want to get caught in that trap, but we do.
It's,
Yeah.
I think it's a lot to
That's
do with the
the issue.
Mandalorian. Is just because that was so cameo.
It was so
heavy and, like, there were just
successful, though.
so
It
many
worked.
I know.
Well,
everyone
yeah,
was
but
happy with
It
it.
did.
I
Marvel's
haven't
also
even watched
I
the
loved
show,
it.
and
It was
I've
great
heard about all
period of
those cameos.
time.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm not even up to date, and I've heard about like all the crazy appearances that happened.
There's
on
a lot
that
of
show.
cool rumors
know?
about some of those characters coming
Especially
into
with a
other-
week-to-week
shows.
format, and you can slowly build momentum more and more every week, where it's like a crazy drop, a crazy drop, a crazy drop.
Right.
You're not losing momentum over, in the middle where you lose interest. And Marvel has so many characters, and they keep introducing more and more and more and more. So now, even like Monica Rambeau, you're like, I want to see her. I want to see her appear in.
She's coming in
Yeah.
multiple things. So
Yeah.
She's definitely
So,
like one of the most important.
I don't
to
see
Avengers.
why
be
there
very
should be
important.
any reason why she shouldn't appear in Falcon and the Winter Soldier if the timeline is correct, because she's specifically.
well, we know
works
one
for-
character who
Hayward
is.
fired her, right? But like, screw what that guy
Yeah.
says. Like, she still has her
Right.
job, right? Is she going to
Yeah.
be working for
Well-
Sword again after this?
I
or
think
is
she's
she-
going straight to
think so.
space. I think that's the
Yeah,
idea.
okay.
Well, she's
that
going
I've
to
heard
space,
about, yeah.
and we know that Nick Fury's in space. He was on
Right.
the Skrull ship when we last
Right.
saw
Very
him.
cool.
And then this
Yeah.
Skrull, agent comes down and saes, "We need you up there."
Does Photon have the
So-
ability to fly through outer space without a spacesuit like Captain Marvel does?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So she can envelop herself
believe
in
so.
energy and not require a spacesuit,
I believe so. Yeah. She's very similar to Captain Marvel. In that sense,
which
yeah.
almost makes you wonder if she's going to have to face off against Captain Marvel at some
Right.
point, or they're going to
I
have
don't
know.
a bitch
There's
fight.
something there. I mean, if we
Like, you
remember
left
with
my
the whole thing
mother
with-
to die.
Yeah.
You left her to die.
bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
best
So
friend.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was there
Right.
for you, and you left her to die
yeah,
Yeah.
so they're
after I got snapped out of existence.
this whole phase might just be a whole messy, the guys on each other, like Doctor Strange and Wanda have to fight each other, Photon
know.
and Captain
Yeah.
Marvel have to fight each other. People that are should be on the same side are going to be forced to come
Civil
to-
War
But in the
too,
larger
maybe.
Avengers picture, we
Yes.
said goodbye
Yeah,
to
that'd
so
be
many
nice.
major characters. Like, we're getting a Black Widow origin story, but in terms of like the present tense moving forward
Yeah.
timeline, we lost Black Widow, we lost Tony Stark, we lost Captain America. Like, we've said goodbye to so many of the central characters, and so we're going to need some new central characters. And obviously Scarlet Witch has been set up to be
Pretty big.
whether she's good or bad or a combination of
Right.
both, she's been set up to be a central character. But I think that Monica Rambeau is certainly being set up to be one of the more important new
Yes.
cast of characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep.
And I
completely
hope
agree.
it's not too long before Billy and Tommy are brought back. Although I feel like if Wanda's main goal over most of this phase is to get her children back, and that is
I think
where
we'll
a
see
lot
with
of the
Dr. Strange.
conflict arises. Yeah, we may not see them for a
There
while.
was some
I
things
just-
with rumors that those kids were in London when it was filming. So I don't know. I don't want to say that for sure, but there was a couple.
I do
things
want to
that
see
came
them
out,
age up,
so
but I
don't
also
know.
did like that version of them. I thought those two kids were great, and they were
I think
fun.
it's gonna
They
be
were real good.
those kids,
Yeah.
and they're gonna age up. I mean, they're just gonna obviously people grow up. So
I just
they're
hope
gonna grow
she
up, so
doesn't
we'll see that.
repeat a similar arc to what we just saw, because I feel like it would be a little redundant
Yeah.
to just have her.
I
go
don't
through the
think it will
same,
be.
Like,
I don't think it
Yeah.
will be. I think
We
it'll
talked
be.
about this. Mike and I talked about this a little on the stream, how this show dealt with the idea of the stages of grief and of having to reach acceptance and let go of
Exactly.
the
Dylan,
ones
do you have to
love.
wrap up?
That,
in a bit, like 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah,
we
we'll-
had
we'll
that
wrap
like
up in a minute.
incredibly poignant scene where they knowingly said goodbye to their kids for the last time, and it would undercut that beautiful scene with that beautiful acting entirely to be like, she hasn't learned anything, she's doing the same
Exactly.
thing again. So they're going to have to complicate the
I
story.
mean,
in
they've done
some
that
way,
before. Not
but-
gonna lie,
Well-
but
Well,
Yeah,
if she
That's why I'm
thought that her
reluctant to bring
children were
Vision back.
disappearing and then they actually do exist when she thought that they were going to be gone for good, then
right.
there you go. They're-
Yeah. Well,
They're gonna
that's
have to
also why I'm
complicate this
reluctant
with
to do
this-
Vision again
Yeah.
and like their relationship, just because like that's the whole premise of that show is her accepting like. the
yeah, I
fact
don't
that
think we'll
Vision
see
is
the
gone.
relationship again. I think, I mean, Omni was talking about it for a second. I think that, yeah, I think it'll, obviously he'll have the memories, but I don't think it's gonna be,
Yeah.
them coming
Well, that's the
back
thing. I was
together.
watching the scene of them saying goodbye, and I was like, "This is really sad." But if we just saw that Vision could come back,
Mm.
potentially, maybe if you buy
I mean,
into that.
I mean, he's
So
coming back. So I
yeah.
I don't think it'll be,
This also might
the
be part of
Wanda.
the
We
Wanda
have the Wanda
Scarlet
and
Witch
Vision relationship.
divide. This might be part of the thing of her
True.
personality sort of irrevocably
Yeah.
splintering, because Wanda Maximoff did the right thing. She made a huge personal sacrifice for the greater good, for the good of the whole town and the world and
Yeah.
whatever. But Scarlet Witch is a different proposition from Wanda Maximoff.
Also, if
we
she,
might need to start viewing those, although they reside within the same body, we might need to start viewing those as distinct characters with different motivations and different agenda.
if she does end up like accidentally like releasing Mephisto or something via using the Darkhold, then
Right.
obviously he could
Right.
have influence
I think
over
he
her
honestly, I mean, it's
cicada,
still
the
and
somewhat.
force her to do bad things.
He can still somewhat kind of come in. I mean, because
No, yeah,
the
it's not
kids line made
impossible.
me think about it again. Was like, thanks for choosing me, and like, the souls thing.
and then they're
still
screaming
could
at
work.
the end. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I gotta
Dylan's got to
go.
bounce.
But I'm
All right.
glad.
Bounce.
I'm glad we got to talk about these last like.
Yeah, I'm
Ah,
glad
on
Omni got to
stream. It's
pop
been a
in
lot
here
of
too.
fun.
That was
It
great.
Yeah.
And we're not going to
Thank
have
you,
a
everybody,
WandaVision to
for-
talk about next week, but we're maybe we'll have something and we can
yeah.
pop on again and
Yeah,
do
and
this again.
Falcon, and just
Well, we'll
whenever
see
there's
how
something
Falcon
going
and Winter
on, or even
Soldier
just to
goes,
talk. I
and-
mean, I feel like we have some good discussions, like
Yeah, Absolutely,
that's about Marvel. That's not even like about what's currently going on.
100%.
So but yeah, I'll see you guys another time.
All right, guys,
All right,
thanks for
bye now.
joining. Thanks to everybody in the
guys.
Thank
chat.
you, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
Friends, we'll see you again.
Have a good one.
Bye.